Hello, welcome. Happy Preparation Day for those of my Torah observant friends. It is Friday, and what I am doing now with the Torah portions is I will be recording them a week early, so I'm a week ahead, so that they are available by Saturday, Sunday, so that it's ready for the next week at the beginning of the week instead of the end of the week. So this week we are reading the Torah portion, Pekudei. Probably not, I can guarantee I'm not pronouncing it correctly. It's Pkudei, and it's accounts of, and it's an accounting of what was collected and built for the tabernacle and the priest's garments. And so the Torah portion is Exodus 38:21 through 40:38, and that concludes Exodus, and then we'll start in Leviticus next week. Yep. And then the Haftorah, the prophets, is 1 Kings 7:51 through 8:21, and the Brit Hadashah, which is the Gospels, is Luke 16:1 through 13. And so let's begin. Actually, I'm going to begin in prayer. This is like my 6th attempt. My phone keeps being goofy. So, Father, please take care of the technical issues so that my phone stopping. Father Yah, I put all this into your hands. I'm going to do one last attempt, and then if this one doesn't work, I'll pick it up again tomorrow. But I ask that I can get this last one done, that you take care of the technical issues, and that you give me the correct words to speak to get what you want across to those that are watching and listening. Father, this is all for your glory, and I just am so humbled and so thankful to be in a position to have this vehicle to share your word, because your word is a lamp and it is a light, and it helps us with every part of our life. And I'm just so thankful that you've given me this opportunity to share your word with others. To you be all the glory, my King. Amen. Okay, so we're going to start with Exodus 38:21. These were the appointments of the dwelling place of the witness, which was appointed by the mouth of Moshe, for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest. And Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehudah, made all that Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And with him Aholiab, son of Ahishamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer and embroiderer in blue and purple and scarlet material and in fine linen. All the gold prepared for the work in all the work of the set-apart place, and it was the gold of the wave offering, came to be 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the set-apart place. Now, a talent is 70 pounds. So, right there is 29 times 70 is 3,000. So, a ton and a half of fine gold. And then also 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the set-apart place. And the silver from the ones counted of the congregation was 100 talents and 1,725 shekels, according to the shekel of the set-apart place. If you remember a couple of Torah portions before, where each male over the age of 20 gave an offering of half a shekel, and that was counted as kind of like a census. Instead of counting the people, they counted the half shekels. So 26, a biqua, half of a shekel for a head, according to the shekel of the set-apart place, for everyone passing over to those counted from 20 years old and above, for 603 4,550 men. That's pretty impressive when they came, during the famine, and then they went down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, there was only 70 souls. And now, hundreds of years later, when they left Mitzrayim, there was 603,550 men. That's, the Father told them, to be fruitful and multiply, and they did. And he promised to multiply their seed, and he did. It's just beautiful. So, and the 100 talents of silver were for casting the sockets of the set-apart place and the bases of the veil. 100 sockets from the 100 talents. A talent for each socket. So if we remember back the last Torah portion, or the one before that, where they made the silver sockets, they were like the stands that the acacia wood panels set in to hold them upright. And so each socket of silver was made from 1 talent of silver. That's 70 pounds. So each one of those sockets to hold up those panels was 70 pounds. So those are really heavy. And, it just, the men that had to set up, tear down, transport the tabernacle, they were some strong men, because these things were weighty. So, okay, 28. And of the 1,775 shekels, he made hooks for the columns and overlaid their tops and made bands for them. And the bronze of the wave offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. And with it he made the sockets for the door of the tent of appointment, and the bronze slaughter place, and the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the slaughter place, and the sockets for the courtyard all around, and the bases for the courtyard grate, and all the pegs for the dwelling place, and all the pegs for the courtyard all around. 39. And of the blue and purple and scarlet material they made woven garments to do service in the set-apart place, and they made set-apart garments, which were for Aaron, and as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he made the shoulder garments of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linens. And this, in 3, I love this. And they beat out sheets of gold. So they took gold earrings, nose rings, bracelets, and they beat them out to fine, thin, like tinfoil, I would imagine. And they beat out the sheets of gold and cut it into threads. So then they cut it into threads, and they used it to weave in with the fabric, to work it in with the blue and purple and scarlet material and the fine linen, the work of the skilled workmen. I have read through these portion, this part of the Bible, I don't know how many times over the past 40 years since I started reading the Bible. And a lot of these details I just missed, because to me it was like, the teacher in the Peanuts thing, wah, 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 wah. I just would like, oh, okay, all these details, I don't need to know any of this. Where's the important stuff? Man, did I miss out. And I'm just so thankful that when I started reading the Torah portions and studying them out, and everything the details became alive. And it's just, that's my prayer for all of you that are watching, that through this, the word becomes alive. So, okay, continue. 39:4. They made shoulder pieces for it to join it. It was joined at the 2 edges. And the embroidered band of the shoulder garment that was on it was the same work of gold and blue and purple and scarlet material and fine woven linen. And as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And they made the shoham stones. Remember the shoham stones? Well, so my other playlist I have is where I'm reading the Bible from the very beginning. And I last week read Bereshith, which is Genesis 1-4. And it talked about how in the Garden of Eden, the 4 rivers, and one of Havilah, I think it's a land, and it was they had shoham stones there. And so here we are once again, we're seeing where those shoham stones are now being used in the priestly garments. So, and they made the shoham stones set in plated work of gold, engraved as signets are engraved according to the names of the sons of Israel. And he put them on the shoulders of the shoulder garments, stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he made the breastplate. Now, I had always been taught, or, that from all the pictures I had seen, in where it talks about, put on the whole armor of God. And, what I picture and what pictures I've seen is like a Roman armor, the helmet and the breastplate and like a Roman soldier. But in reading and studying, could it be that the full armor of God is more like the priestly garments? Because here we're going to talk about the breastplate. And I think it more would be that the full armor of Yahuwah would be like the priestly garments. Something to consider there. So anyway, and he made the breastplate a work of a skilled workman, like the work of the shoulder garment, of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet material, and of fine woven linen. It was square. They made the breastplate double its length a span, its width a span, doubled. And they filled it with 4 rows of stones, a row of ruby, a topaz, and an emerald for the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, a shoham, and a jasper. Set in plated work of gold and their settings. And the stones were according to the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to the names, engraved like a signet, each one with its own name according to the 12 tribes. And they made braided chains of corded work for the breastplate at the ends of clean gold. So they took gold and made chains. And then they made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And then they put the 2 cords of gold in the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. And the 2 ends of the 2 cords they fastened to the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment in front. So they attached them to the shoulder pieces. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which was on the inward side of the shoulder garment. And they made 2 gold rings and put them on the 2 shoulder pieces underneath the shoulder garment, and on the front of it, close to the seam above the embroidered band of the shoulder garment. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the shoulder garment with the blue cord, so that it would be above the embroidered band of the shoulder garment, and that the breastplate would not come loose from the shoulder garment, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he made the robe of the shoulder garment of woven work, all of blue. And the opening of the robe was in the middle, like the opening of scaled armor. And there's armor, with a woven binding all around the opening, so that it would not tear. And I think later in our reading, it talks about that Yahuwah, something against tearing of the priestly garments. In the Bible where it talks about, they put ashes on their head and they tore their garments. Well, the priestly garments cannot be torn. And so they actually put extra fabric to make it to where it couldn't tear. So let's see here. So it would not tear. And they made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet material twined. And they made bells of clean gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hems of the robe all around between the pomegranates. A bell, and then a pomegranate, and a bell, and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe, for the service as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And they made the long shirt of fine linen, the work of a weaver, for Aaron and his sons, and a turban of fine linen, and the turban's ornaments of fine linen, and short trousers of fine woven linen, and a girdle of fine woven linen with blue and purple and scarlet material, the work of an embroiderer, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And they made the plate of the set apart sign of dedication of clean gold, and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet. So, like, signet rings back in the day, I remember as a kid, we'd have those little signet things where you'd melt the wax and then you'd press it and it would seal, your envelope. And that's back in the day when they had like messages, important messages, they would, seal it with their signet. And so with this, it's all engraved, just like a signet where there's some raised parts and then it's engraved down. And so that when it's stamped in, it shows the right and what it's supposed to say. And it says, so it was made of clean gold and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet, set apartness to Yahuwah. And this was on their turban, so on their forehead. And they put it on a blue cord to fasten it above on the turban as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And all the work of the dwelling place of the tent of appointment was completed, and the children of Israel did according to all that Yahuwah had commanded Moshe, so they did. And they brought the dwelling place to Moshe, the tent and all its furnishings, its hooks, its boards, its bars, its columns, and its sockets, and the covering of ram skins dyed red, and the covering of fine leather, and the veil of the covering, and the ark of the witness with its poles and its lid of atonement, the table and all its utensils, and the showbread, the clean lampstand with its lamps, the lamps to be put in order, and all its utensils, and the oil for the light, and the slaughter place of gold, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the covering for the tent door, the bronze slaughter place and its bronze grating, its poles, and all its utensils, and the basin with its stands, and the screws of the courtyard, all columns and its sockets, the covering for the courtyard gate, its cords and its pegs, and all the utensils for the service of the dwelling place for the tent of appointment. The woven garments to do service in the set apart place, and the set apart garments for Aaron the priest and his sons' garments to serve as priests, according to all that Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. So the children of Israel did all the work. And Moshe looked over all the work and saw that they did it as Yahuwah had commanded. So they had done. And Moshe blessed them. So, he gave the instructions. Oops, sorry. I'm making everything. I actually am kind of in a different, I'm in the same spot, different furniture. I sold my table and my new table isn't coming for a couple of days. So I'm sitting with a little tray and a chair, and it's a little bit wobbly. So I apologize. But anyway, Yahuwah gave the instructions to Moshe. Moshe gave the instructions to the people, the skilled workmen, and the Holy Spirit gave them the vision, and they completed the work that they were asked to do. They were faithful and they completed the work and they're obedient. And then Moshe blessed them. 40. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, on the first day of the first new moon, you are to raise up the dwelling place of the tent of appointment, and shall put it in the ark of the witness, and shall put in it the ark of the witness, and screen the ark with the veil. And you shall bring in the table and arrange what belongs on it, and bring in the lampstand and the lamp, light its lamps. So here's, they're taking everything in and putting everything in its place now. Man, it had to have been so exciting. They've left Mitzrayim, they've left Egypt, they're out in the wilderness, they're living in tents, and Moshe goes up, he gets all the instructions, he comes down and he shares it, and they went to work on it. Now it's completed. Now they're putting it together, and this is going to be their meeting place. This is going to be where Yahuwah dwells with them. And that's what this whole thing. He wants to dwell with us. He wants, like in the Garden of Eden, where he walked with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day. He wants to dwell with us and walk with us and talk with us and spend time with us. And it's just so awesome how this is all getting put together. It had to have been so exciting. So, okay, sorry. The dwelling, and on the first day of the new moon, you're to raise up the dwelling place of the tent of appointment, and shall put in it the ark of the witness, the screen, the ark, the veil, and shall bring in the table and arrange what belongs on it, and bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. And you shall set the slaughter place of gold for incense before the ark of the witness, and put up a covering of the door to the dwelling place. And you shall set the slaughter place of the ascending offering before the door of the dwelling place of the tent of appointment, and shall set the basin between the tent of appointment and the slaughter place, and shall put water therein. And you shall set up the courtyard all around, and shall place the covering of the courtyard gate, and shall take the anointing oil and anoint the dwelling place and all that is in it, and shall set it and all its utensils apart, and it shall be set apart. And I had shared before that set apart, in other translations is holy. It's set apart for his use. So 40:10. And you shall anoint the slaughter place of the ascending offering and all of its utensils, and set the slaughter place apart. And the slaughter place shall be most set apart. And you shall anoint the basin and its stand, and set it apart. And you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tent of appointment, and wash them with water. And you shall put the set apart garments on Aaron, and anoint him, and set him apart to serve as priests to me. And you shall bring his sons, and put long shirts on them, and shall anoint them as you anointed their father, and they shall serve as priests to me, and their anointing shall be for them an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. And Moshe did according to all that Yahuwah had commanded him, so he did. And it came to be in the first new moon of the second year of the first day of the new moon that the dwelling place was raised up. And Moshe raised up the dwelling place, and placed its sockets, and set it up its board. Now Moshe's doing all this work. So, and he's not a young man, and he's lifting all of these heavy things and putting it together. It just shows how Yahuwah was with him and helped him to complete what he had been asked to do. So, and Moshe raised up the dwelling place, and placed its sockets, and set it up its boards, and put in its bars, and raised up its columns, and spread the tent over the dwelling place, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he took the witness and put it into the ark, and he put the poles through the rings of the ark. So the witness, the tablets, his witness that he was up, and it was written by the hand of Yahuwah, the witness. And he put it into the ark, and he put the poles through the rings of the ark, and he put the lid of atonement on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the dwelling place, and placed the veil of the covering to screen off the ark of the witness, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he put the table in the tent of appointment on the north side of the dwelling place inside the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before Yahuwah, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he put the lampstand in the tent of appointment opposite the table on the south side of the dwelling place, and lit the lamps before Yahuwah, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. Let there be light. Man, it would have been just so awesome to be there. I just wish I could have seen all of this, and the Father's been showing me in my mind, just how beautiful and amazing it was, and just so exciting. So 26, and he put the gold slaughter place in the tent of appointment in front of the veil, and burned sweet incense on it, as Yahuwah had commanded. And he set up the covering to the door of the dwelling place, and he put the slaughter place of the ascending offering before the door of the dwelling place of the tent of appointment, and offered upon it the ascending offering and the grain offering, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he put the basin between the tent of appointment and the slaughter place, and he put water therein for washing. And Moshe and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet with water from it. So a cleansing, a mikvah. Mikvah is baptism, kind of a cleansing. And, kind of interesting, they cleansed, they had to cleanse themselves. And as they went to the tent of appointment, as they came near the slaughter place, so they washed before they went to the slaughter place, and you have to think about, slaughtering all these animals, how dirty it was, so, and I had shared in one of the last Torah portions about how the basin where they wash is actually made of bronze, which is made of copper and tin. And copper is antimicrobial. It helps to kill germs and bacteria. So, yeah, it's just so brilliant in everything that he did. There was a reason. There's a reason for it all. So 32. As they went into the tent of appointment, and as they came near the slaughter place, they would wash, as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And he raised up the courtyard all around the dwelling place and the slaughter place, and placed the covering of the courtyard gate. And Moshe completed the work. And the cloud covered the tent of appointment, and the esteem of Yahuwah filled the dwelling place. Can you imagine being in that camp? And then all of a sudden, the cloud and the pillar of fire have been there, and they've been following it by day and by night. But then all of a sudden, the cloud covered the tent of appointment, and the esteem of Yahuwah filled the dwelling place. And Moshe was not able to come into the tent of appointment because the cloud dwelt on it, and the esteem of Yahuwah filled the dwelling place. I found that kind of interesting because he was able to go up on the mountain and speak to him face to face, but now when it fills the dwelling place, he's not able to go in. So that one, there's a big question for me, is like, why? So 16, and when the cloud was taken up from above the dwelling place, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Yahuwah was on the dwelling place by day, the fire was on it by night, before the eyes of all the house of Israel and all of their journeys. So, wow, talk about looking to the Father every day, every moment of every day, meaning, and this is how he wants us to live. And so, they'd get up in the morning, they'd look, and okay, the cloud's still there. And the cloud's lifting up and going, time to pack up, got to pack everything up, it's time to move. And they'd follow the cloud or the pillar of fire if they're, traveling at night until, it settled again. And then they'd unpack and put everything out, and they'd be there for however long. And I can imagine that some days it would be, a couple days, some days it would be a couple months, it just, talk about looking to him for every move. It's just how it's supposed to be. So that is actually the end of the Torah portion, and it was a really small portion this week because this is a leap year portion. And this is a leap year, so we went ahead and did the extra portion. Normally it would be a double portion with the portion of last week. They would do two portions being a double portion, but this is a leap year, so we went ahead. So the Haftorah is the prophets is 1 Kings 7:51 and 7:51 through 8:21. And so here we begin. Thus all the work which sovereign Shelomah, that's Solomon, but his Hebrew name is Shelomoh. Shelomah. So thus all the work which sovereign Shelomah had done for the house of Yahuwah was completed. So now this is the actual, building tabernacle, that Solomon built. And so, thus all the work which sovereign Shelomah had done for the house of Yahuwah was complete. And Shelomah brought in the set-apart items of his father David, the silver and the gold and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the house of Yahuwah. 8. Then Shelomah assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes and chief fathers of the children of Israel to sovereign Shelomah in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah from the city of David, which is in Sion. And all the men of Israel assembled to sovereign Shelomah. I'm thinking that's it. It's Shelomoh. Anyway, at the festival in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th new moon. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and brought up the ark of Yahuwah and the tent of appointment and all the set apart utensils that were in the tent, and the priests and the Levites brought them up. And sovereign Shalomah and all the congregation of Israel who had assembled with him were with him before the ark, slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that they could not be counted or numbered. So, when I talked about how slaughtering had to have been really dirty, you're thinking you're slicing the neck and there's blood and there's, and they're sitting here and they're not sitting there. They're slaughtering so many that they could not be counted or numbered. And the priests brought, and these are all offerings that people brought. And priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah to its place, into the speaking place of the house, to the most set apart place, under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered over the ark and its poles. And the poles extended so that the ends of the poles were seen from the set apart place in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from outside, and they are there to this day. I'm just so looking forward to New Jerusalem and the new, just to be able to actually see all of this in person someday when we, when we're with him. I'm hoping he'll do a playback, a movie or something, and show us, what we missed and what it looked like. So there was not in the ark only the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put in there at Horeb, where Yahuwah made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be, when the priests came out of the set apart place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahuwah, so that the priests were unable to stand and perform the service because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house of Yahuwah. And Shalom said, Yahuwah has said he would dwell in the dark cloud, and I have indeed built you an exalted house, an established place for you to dwell in forever. And the sovereign turned around and blessed all of the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel was standing. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to my father David, and with his hand has filled it, saying, Since the day I brought my people Israel out of Mitzrayim, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Israel in which to build a house for my name to be there, but I chose David to be over my people Israel. And it was in the heart of my father David to build a house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. But Yahuwah said to my father David, Because it has been in your heart to build a house for my name, and you did well that it was in your heart. Only you do not build the house, but your son, who is coming from your loins, he does build the house for my name. Now Yahuwah has established his word, which he spoke, and I have been raised up instead of my father David, and sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahuwah promised, and built a house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, and have appointed there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahuwah, which he made with our fathers when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And then the Brit Hadashah is the Gospels, Luke 16. And Luke, here they are, Luke 16, 1 through 13. And he also said to his taught ones, those are his disciples, and we're talking about Yeshua here. And he also said to his taught ones, there was a certain rich man who had a manager, and he was accused to him as wasting his possessions. So having called him, said to him, What is it this I hear about you? Give an account for your management, for you are no longer able to be manager. And the manager said within himself, What shall I do? For my master is taking the managership away from me. Am I unable to dig? I am unable to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. So meaning, he was physically not capable of doing hard labor, and he's, ashamed to beg, and he didn't know how he would provide for himself. And so I know what I shall do, that when I am removed from the managership, they might receive me unto their houses. And calling every one of his master's debtors to him, he said to the first, How much do you owe my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, Take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then to another he said, How much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, Take your bill and write 80. And the master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly, because the sons of his age are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. And I say to you, make friends for yourself by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they shall receive you into everlasting dwellings. He who is trustworthy is what is least is trustworthy also in much. He who is trustworthy in what is least is trustworthy also in much, and he who is unrighteous in what is least is unrighteous also in much. If therefore you have not been trustworthy in the unrighteous mammon, who shall entrust you the true? Entrust to you the true. And if you have not been trustworthy in what is another man's, who shall give you what is your own? No servant is able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cling to one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon. So that's the end of the Torah portions. My phone didn't turn off. Thank you, Father. And so I thank you so much for joining. I hope this blessed you. Please leave any questions or comments, or if you know how to pronounce some of these names, let me know. Get a hold of me. I'd love to start dialogue on this. What are your thoughts as you read through this week? Please share in the comments and share it with your friends, those that that read. My husband told me I say too much, so it's in my head. I'm trying not to say it. Anyway, share with your friends who are reading Torah portions, or someone who who's interested in reading more of the Bible. And we will see you next week on Monday. I will be recording, starting it again, Bereshit, Genesis 5, and I'll read a few chapters there. So I've got the 2 playlists going. Fridays, Yah willing, I do the Torah portions. Monday, Yah willing, I do the Bible reading. So thanks for joining me. Have a fabulous weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy your time with the King. Be blessed. Bye.